Hi guys, I'm Missy, and if you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. So today is going to be another installment in my monthly makeup series where I use the spin wheel to pick my makeup. So today's video is going to be the last look using the products that were picked by the spin wheel for July. And what I do in this video is I talk about how I feel about all the products I've used for the month. I believe I've already done 3 looks for the month with these products. Most of them are shorts, and I will do my best to get them up before this video. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far because it's letting me use products that are already in my collection, and it's kind of really helping me. Well, not kind of, it actually really is helping me discover more of what I like and dislike in my makeup products. So first off, we'll start off with kind of the skincare-esque part that the spin wheel picked, which is the lip scrub and the lip mask. So the lip scrub is from Glam, and it's their strawberry shortcake lip scrub. It's nice. It serves its purpose. It does a really good job of exfoliating the lips. I'm discovering with myself though that I prefer a more dry texture for my lip scrubs. And this one is not like complete gel like most of them, but it's kind of like the in between the dry and the gel like lip scrubs. But it's still not my favorite because I just kind of prefer the dry lip scrub. But this is basically, you know, what it looks like on my finger. And I just take it, rub it across. It smells exactly like strawberry. And I mean, it goes on, you know, kind of red on your mouth, but it doesn't tint your mouth. And then I just take a little cotton pad and clean it off. So my lips do feel a lot more exfoliated, a lot softer. So it does a good job at that. Like I said, it's just more of a personal preference thing for me at this point. I'm just finding that I just prefer a very dry lip scrub as opposed to these more like gel to liquidy type lip scrubs. But if you don't mind that, then this is a good option. And then the lip mask was from the ColourPop Frosty the Snowman collection. It's the Northbound. Is very, very minty. And it does have a bit of shimmer in here. I don't really see that too much on the lips whenever I apply it. It just kind of gives a bit of a glossy sheen. But I will say that the mint is kind of intense in it, but it does feel very, very nice. But if you're not a huge fan of mint, I don't really recommend. It's almost like when you get the somewhat minty lip plumpers. It's kind of that intensity, not like the spicy lip plumpers, but the minty cooling lip plumper. That's what this feels like to me. But it does do a good job of moisturizing my lips. I tend to use lip masks at night before I go to bed as part of my skincare routine. I'm not a big person of using it before my makeup. I just really only do that for the videos so I can show you what it looks like. But I prefer a lip mask more as a skincare nighttime routine for me. Now, I will do like a lip oil a lot of times beforehand, or like a lip balm, something that by the time I'm done with my makeup, it's already kind of worn off, so that my lips are already moisturized and prepped for when I'm ready to do my lipstick and lip liner and stuff. So there's that. But yeah, so I mean, I like these products. I don't really have anything bad to say about them, just, you know, personal preference thing. Alright, so moving on, we're going to move on to primer. And the primer that was picked for this month was a green color correcting primer from ZC that I got in an ice cream beauty box. I did get a little bit of a concealer on there. And it's very nice. I think it does a very good job of reducing my redness. I will say that I'm more of someone who uses multiple primers a lot of times. I do like when there's a primer that kind of does more than one thing, because sometimes I feel like I need a little hydration. Sometimes I feel like I need a little hydration, so I'll use a hydrating primer. But most of the time, my typical type of primers I like to use is a green color corrector. That's the majority of the time. A glowy primer, because I love to have a glowy finish to my base makeup, and a pore filling to kind of like help with, you know, fine lines and wrinkles kind of fill in a little bit, and then like the pores right in this area as well. So that's kind of how I like to use primers. So this on its own is nice. It's just a color corrector, but I do like to pair it with other stuff. But I'm not going to do that today because, you know, we're just using the products that are in the spin wheel. And I do apply a pretty liberal amount, and I will say, even though I do, this is still pretty full, and I've used it at least, not counting on camera, probably about 10 times already, and it's still like, it's only down to here. Alright, so let me grab one of my primer brushes. And this is the e.l.f. one. I've talked about them before. And I literally just, you know, swirl it around, buff it in to my face. And it is like that kind of perfect shade of green. It's not so light that it doesn't work, but it's not so dark that it leaves a green undertone and makes you kind of look like the Wicked Witch of the East. I've had some green color correctors do that to me before. This one does a good job just kind of evening out, blending in to your skin tone. And you see it, you know, does it pretty quickly. And right away I already see it diminishing my redness on my cheeks and stuff. So yeah, I definitely will keep this in my collection. I think it's a good green color corrector primer. Alright, moving on. So the next thing I do in my routine is my brows. And the two brow products that were picked was the One Size Browkiki pencil, and I have the shade Black Brown, and the e.l.f. Brow Laminating Gel. So the pencil I really like. I've found that I have a tendency to really like these micro tip pencils. They're a lot easier for me to control, I've noticed, and where I have very thin, almost non-existent brows to begin with, they give me the control I need, and they usually come with a really skinny brow spoolie as well, which is really good for my thinner brows. So what I like to do is I just kind of take the spoolie first, brush up my brows. And then normally how I like to do my routine is I'll do my brow pencil and draw my brow and all that stuff, and then I'll go in with a brow gel. So this e.l.f. brow laminating gel, technically, and like it says, it's a laminating gel. It says you can use it to set too, which I've done both, right? I prefer using it as a setting gel and not so much as doing it before, because I feel like when I do it before, I have a hard time of trying to get things to glide across my brows with the laminating type brow gels, every single one I've used. And I think that may just be because I have such thin, sparse brows that it leaves more of like a crust almost on me, as opposed to someone who has more brow hair. It gets more into the hair and sets it to where they want it, you know? So I'm going to do the way I do my brows today, which is go in with a brow pencil and then set it with this, and then we'll talk about, you know, kind of both of them here in a minute. And I like the fact that the nano pencils are a lot easier to do like a hair flick type stroke on brow. And I went in with a very light hand, and you can see you get more of like a natural kind of looking brow, but you can definitely go darker with this pencil, which I am going to do because I prefer a darker pencil, or a darker brow I should say. And then I'll just go back in with the spoolie and just kind of brush through. And there you go. You know, I have a finished brow. I'm going to repeat that on this side, and I'll be right back. I'm back, and remember, you know, brows are always sisters, not twins, so, you know, they can always kind of look a little different. But I want to talk about the pencil a little bit. So I rolled it up. This is how much I have left, and I've used this quite a bit, so it doesn't surprise me that that's all that's left. Which, I mean, that's still a decent amount for me. I love this pencil. I think it's a good shade, especially the fact that, like I told you, you know, before I popped off camera, that I can go with a light hand and it looked more like natural, softer brow, or I can go a little harder with my pressure and build it up. And that is very, very nice to do, especially when you're someone like me who is not the greatest at doing her brows. It really, really helps. And like I said, I love the little thin micro pencil. It's great for hair-like strokes. And I like the mini spoolie as well. So I definitely like this pencil. Alright, now let's move on to the e.l.f. brow gel. So the first time I ever used this, it took me forever to figure out how to get this cap off. And that's because I was trying to pull from this area, even though there's no seam, and I kept going, why is it not coming off? Is because it's actually like this whole thing here where it separates. So if anyone else maybe has that issue like I did, then, you know, there you go. So I've already noticed just with a couple uses of this, it's starting to get a kind of a little like chunky in the tube. So I'm always having to like pull like excess off of the tip. So I just take it to use to set, and I just brush up through my brows, and it looks like white glue as I'm applying it. And it does kind of feel a little bit like glue. It's not super sticky. It just, you can definitely feel the consistency of it in your brow when you first apply. And you can see little white specks in the brow when you first apply. Now, if you're not careful, you can get some buildup of those little white specks in the brow. I try to pay attention as I'm brushing it through. If I see that happening, then I kind of comb through it a little more to make it disappear. Because if not, you're gonna see it when it dries down. You're gonna see the little white crusties. So as you saw, I just applied it with the wand and the product, and then I go in with the brush part of the top and brush up and through, and then I take the comb side and I just kind of shape how I want to shape the edge of my brow, because I like to kind of down turn it a little bit. I'm going to do that on this side. But I do like to keep the front of my brows kind of more like laminated looking, because it makes my brows look fuller. That's just personal preference for me. Okay, so that being said, this is not my favorite brow gel. Just simply because I have brow gels that do a good job of keeping my brows up and staying up, and this one does, don't get me wrong, it does, but I don't feel it when I'm applying it, and that's more of like a textural thing for me, because I like I said, I literally feel like I'm putting glue through my brow with this, and it is kind of thicker than what I prefer. You guys can kind of see the consistency here and see how the tip gets like that excess on it that I have to wipe off. So that alone makes this not my favorite brow gel. I prefer something that is more clear but has a hold. Like I really like the Beauty Crop Brow Friends Forever. That one's really nice. The Essence, I can't think of the name of it. I believe it's in a pink tube. That's one of my favorites. That type of brow gel is more my preference. So I feel like if you're wanting more of the laminated brow effect and you have bigger, bushier brows than I do, I feel like this is probably better for you than it is for me. So most likely I'll probably try to use the rest of this up. We'll see when it comes to my next declutter how I feel based on what's still in my collection, whether I keep this or not. But yeah, not a horrible product, but also not the best brow gel for me. Alright, so let's move on. So the next step is, normally I'll do my eyes and all that, like the top part of my eyes, and then I'll do my base, and then I'll come back and return to do the bottom part of my eyes. I will say that this palette that I have doesn't have very much fallout from it, so for that reason I'm actually going to do my base first today, and then I will do my eyes. So first up for base, aside from the primer that we already did, that I like, you know, to set in while I'm doing my brow. So now it's fully set in for me, and I can go with my foundation. And the Spin Wheel picked the Revlon Skin Caring Illuminance Foundation. It has 5% squalane and hyaluronic acid. I'm in the shade 201 Creamy Natural. This is a very nice foundation. Like I said, I love a glowy base, right? So this is like a perfect glowy foundation. And I was quite surprised at the longevity I was able to achieve with it with the help of setting powders. I don't think, however, that this would end up lasting on its own on my oily combo skin throughout the heat in the summer months without help from setting powders though. But I feel like if you had dry skin and you wanted a glowy finish, I think this would probably be a really good option for you. I'm just kind of taking the excess off of the cap, and then I just go in with my brush. And as you can see, it's got a beautiful finish. I did kind of apply a little bit too much today. That's what happens when I run my mouth and don't pay attention to how much I squirted on my face. Because I tend to like to do a light layer. I'm actually going to remove that lip mask now because I like to go over my mouth with my foundation. I know some people hate that. I like to do it because it feels a little more uniform to me with blending. Because I feel like when I don't do that, I can see like the mark between the foundation and my skin and my mouth. So to remove that, I just go over my whole mouth. And the coverage on this is very, very nice. I feel like it's got a nice medium coverage because I can still see, you know, like my beauty mark peeking through, a couple, you know, age spots here and there. I do feel like you could probably build this up to be a little more full coverage, but I don't prefer to do that. I prefer mine to be a little more on the medium side. I don't like light coverage, like no coverage to light coverage. I do want to actually see a difference, but I also don't like full coverage because I feel like full coverage on me always tends to settle in every line, every wrinkle, every pore, and just emphasizes it on myself. So I don't prefer that, but I really enjoy this foundation. It's one of my favorites so far that I've used. And then I just go back over with a sponge just to kind of help smooth and absorb any like excess foundation. And I do not wet my sponge anymore, just simply because where I have oily combo, I feel like it works better not wet on my skin. Alright, but this is what foundation looks like. You guys can see the glow, the radiance. I love that. That's one of my favorite things to have for a base. So yeah, this is definitely staying. And I mean, I've used it a bunch and you can't really even tell that I've made a mark. So this is gonna last me a while. Alright, so after that I start going in with my concealer. And so what was chosen this time was another eye brightener. It was the e.l.f. color correcting eye brightener. So what I decided to do was to also pair my Tarte Shape Tape in 16N Fairlight Neutral, because this is getting pretty empty and I'm trying to use it up. So this does a very good job of color correcting and brightening, and this gives me more coverage to add to it. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to grab a concealer brush and I'm going to go in with this P89 brush from Sigma. It just has the nice little like fingertip type shape, and I just go into the little pot here, and then I tap it right at the front where I have mostly my dark circle. Now this is a really good one on a day where I have either very little to no makeup on and I want to just make my eyes look a little more awake. You guys can already see the difference here, right? It's very, very good for that because it has the color correcting in like a peachy shade, which is the perfect match for me. I don't know. I got this in a advent calendar, so I don't know if they have different shades in this or not. I'll have to look and see. If they do, I'll try to remember to link it. I'll try to remember to link all the products as well. I do not have affiliate links or anything like that. Everything you see on my channel, with the exception of like maybe 4 products, I paid for myself, or they were like given to me by family members. Like the few that were sent to me from and brand were because like I signed up for them to send it to me, or they sent it to me because of being like a member of their icon group. For example, I've got a couple e.l.f. products sent to me for free through the mail, not as them like knowing who I am as a creator or anything, just because I am like a higher tier of their icon members, so they tend to just randomly pick people to send that to sometimes. So I've got a couple products from them like that, and then the mascara, it was the Firework mascara from Maybelline. I actually signed up on like Instagram at one point saying, yes, I'd like, you know, you to send me a free sample of this. So those are the only things that I have never paid for on my channel. Everything else I have paid for or was given to me by a family member or friend. So just a little transparency there. Alright, so again, perfect for me, at least with the shade match, with the color correcting and the brightening. Perfect for like a, oh, I woke up, I look tired, I don't feel like putting a whole lot of makeup on, I just want to kind of brighten up my under eye, look a little more awake. Perfect for that. I think it's great. Definitely saying for that reason. Now, because I want a little more coverage today, because I'm going a little more glam, I'm going to go in with my Tarte Shape Tape. And because I'm trying to use it up, this concealer, I almost said foundation, this concealer lasts a really long time. The only pet peeve is it starts to get very gunky around the lid. I've had to clean that off a couple times. Alright, so I'm just going to take the sponge and blend in the chin area, the nose area, and the forehead, and then I'll go with the brush for the concealer and then the sponge. Just my technique I like to use. Because a brush gives more coverage. A sponge does a good job of picking up the excess if you've put too much on. Okay. I want more coverage under my eyes, so that's why I go in with a brush first and then go back in with a sponge. Also to kind of help not have like that separation work. Alright, so my thoughts on this e.l.f. color correcting concealer. Really, really like for just a like quick, easy, brightening, color correcting on no makeup days kind of thing, or a light makeup day, look a little more awake. Not the best for full coverage, so those are my two thoughts on this. So if you like something a little more full coverage then you're going to have to add another concealer along with it. But if you want something just kind of light, I think this is pretty comparable in my opinion to the Sigma Duo. I'm sure this is probably more affordable too. So hopefully it's available in more shades. I'm not sure. I'll have to check. Okay, so next cream product is my bronzer contour. And the Spin Wheel picked the Revolution Pro Goddess Glow Cream Contour and Bronze, and I got Lite. I feel like I probably should have went in with, or should have bought Light Medium, because this one is more of a cooler contour type shade on me. It's not quite completely cool tone on me, but it's also not as warm as I like my bronzers to be. I will say I'm finding I'm not a huge fan of these like sponge tip applicators, honestly. I prefer doe foot. I do like the fact that the Revolution Pro one does come with the lockable cap. I've talked about that before. I'm going to go in with the sponge today. Sometimes I like to use the brush, sometimes I like to use the sponge, just whatever I'm feeling in the moment. A lot of times I'll do the sponge because it's quicker. But again, if you want it to be a little more full coverage, then definitely go with the brush first. So as you can see, it's very light on me compared to what I like. Because I lean more of like a light medium with my foundations and stuff. I walk a fine line though, because sometimes I can get a light medium concealer type shade or a light medium contour type shade and they end up being too dark. Or I have the problem like I'm having right now where it's, because I want it to be more of a bronzer shade, it's too light for what I want it to be. Alright, and I'm just going to go along my nose, chin, mouth, all my typical areas I like to do. I go right here and then down the nose. And I feel like it makes it a little difficult with this sponge to kind of get precise with the nose contour, whereas like the doe foot tends to have like a point on it that you can use. And then I'm gonna go under the chin area here. Alright, and it gets very, very messy very quickly. It's the other thing I don't like about these products, or that applicator. I'm going to go down the chin first. Just simply because that tends to dry the quickest on me for some reason. I do feel like I have to work kind of quickly with this one because it starts to set. See, that's what I mean with it, with the nose contour, because it makes it a little difficult to kind of get that perfect line. So I usually end up having to go back in with a little bit of concealer on my nose to kind of help straighten that back out. And that's just the applicator problem, because I've noticed I've had that with every single one of these sponge applicator tips. So yeah, I don't think that that's going to be something I continue to want to buy. I just kind of prefer the doe foot more. Alright, so my thoughts on this product. Shade match, not the greatest for me, too light. So there is that. I don't like the sponge tip applicator. The formula itself seems to dry down quick, like it's trying to set itself pretty quickly. So I do have to split up, kind of doing the top half of my face with my bronzer contour, and then doing the bottom half of my face for the bronzer contour. So not a fan of that. Other than that, I mean, it's an okay formula. It's not the best I've ever used, but it's also not the worst. Again, packaging, I mean, if you care about packaging, you guys can see it gets, and this is me wiping it off periodically, it gets gunky up in the lid. It gets gunky all over the applicator, you know, all that. This is just not appealing to me. I don't want to have to keep cleaning my makeup off every time I have to use it. Okay, so that's my thoughts on the contour bronzer. So the liquid blush that the Spin Wheel picked is from ColourPop. This is the She's Cute shade. This is their Weightless liquid blush. And it comes in a doe foot form. A lot of people said these were a dupe for the Rare Beauty blushes. I don't know. I don't really own a Rare Beauty blush. I will say this shade right here is pretty pigmented. On me, I feel like it gives kind of like that perfect fake sunburn look to it, which I do think looks nice on me. And again, I'm going in with a sponge today. Normally I go in with a brush. So the application is going to be a little more diluted today because I'm going in with a sponge. And I do like to kind of bring my blushes across. I like to emphasize my round cheeks. I'm going to add some more. Usually I'll use a stippling brush, typically a ColourPop one, and spread it out. I may just do that today. Let's see if I can find one. Actually, I'm going to use this one from Singe Beauty. It's the F01. You can see the difference of how the brush gives you more color payoff. But it can get pretty intense pretty quickly that way. So it's all on what you prefer. But I wanted to show you like how it gives me that like fake sunburn look to me. Alright, so there we go with that. Like it, think it's a nice formula. It does have a nice locking mechanism on the lid. I think the packaging is really cute with the little heart on top. I do feel like it is very pigmented, at least this shade, She's Cute. So yeah, you do have to be a little careful with it. So if you're kind of intimidated by that, I don't think you would like these. So maybe in a lighter shade or something might be a better option if you're thinking of getting these. But yeah, I like it. I think it does a very good job of blending out, does a very good job of showing up, pretty pigmented, blends out nice. Yeah, I don't really have anything bad to say about this. I like it. It's gonna stay in my collection. Alright, so the next cream or liquid product. This is more of like a cream. It's the ColourPop Light Stick in Bullseye. And this is pretty old in my collection. I typically have just been going with my finger and going across. Sometimes I'll use a brush, but most of the time I just go across with the finger and then I just kind of tap in where I want it to be. I do think this is a very nice shade. Alright, so I can see a little bit of glitter specks in it when I'm putting it on, but it's not bad because, like, you know, a lot of times with glittery highlighters, you'll kind of see it like throughout your whole face throughout the day. This one's not like that. This one is very nice. It gives like a nice sheen with a little bit of glitter specks here and there. And I do feel like this is a nice color for me. And I feel like it's not an intimidating cream product either. I think it's very easy to use. I don't know if ColourPop still even sells these highlighters anymore. I don't think they do. I think they've gone more of like the liquid route with their highlighters, because the last couple launches I've seen, that's what they were liquid. But I really like this highlighter. I think it's very pretty and very easy to use. And then I just always go back over with my sponge no matter what I'm doing. Just something I like to do. Feels like it blends everything a little better to me. Okay, so now let's go into some powder products. So let's go into the powder bronzer. So the powder bronzer that was chosen is the Essence Sun Club Luminous Bronzing Powder. So this month really wanted me to be glowy because we have the glowy foundation, this glowy bronzer, and a glowy setting spray that we're going, or a glowy setting powder that we're going to use towards the end. I really like Essence's bronzers. I think they do a good job. This one is really nice with the glow on it because it's not like super like shiny glowy. It's just a very nice lit with from in kind of glow. Let me grab a bronzer brush. I'm going to grab this one from Lunar Beauty. This is the LBF3. And I just kind of swirl in there. I did get the shade 20 Sunkissed in California. It's a medium tone. I told you guys I like to have more of a bronzied look, like a more warm, darker bronze on myself. So I want a medium tone. And I feel like this works for me. I don't think this would work for someone who is a darker skin tone than myself. Like I know it says medium tone. I don't feel like it would work for someone that was a medium tone. I may be wrong, but I don't think that it would be as impactful as it is on me. I think it would probably be very subtle, almost not showing up. So there's that. I am not sure if this product still exists. It's another product that's older in my collection, but I mean it still performs nicely. I haven't had any issues with it. And in fact, I think this one smells nice. Yeah, this one smells almost like the Physicians Formula bronzer. It's not quite as strong as that one, but it does smell very similar. It almost kind of looks similar too in the pans. I don't know, maybe they were trying to dupe the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer when it came out. Maybe that's was their plan. But I do like this bronzer. It is one that I reach for a decent amount, and you get a lot of product in here. I mean, look at the size of that pan. I don't think I'll ever hit pan or finish that, to be honest with you. So there is that. my thoughts. I like it. Like the packaging. Packaging, you know, even though it's like a kind of a cheap plastic, it's a little more sturdy than, say, like a Wet n Wild type plastic. Love the, you know, illumination that's in this one. It's not like super sparkly or glowy or anything. It's just a nice glow on the skin. Smells nice. Get a nice amount of product. So yeah, I definitely like this. Definitely keeping in my collection. Alright, let's move on. So, powder blush. So we have the Face palette that was picked for the month, and basically it's just a blush duo from Give Beauty, and it is the Feelin Cheeky Amplifying Blush Duo in the Honeymoon Phase. So it's a purple blush. I did already use this in a video. I'm not going to use this today, but I am going to talk about it just because it doesn't really go with the color of my liquid blush. I'm going to use the other powder blush today instead. So nice compact, very nice. You get kind of a glowy blush and a matte blush, and I just kind of mix the two together. Now, I've talked about this with basically all the gift products. I don't like the smell. It has a very like fragrant perfume smell. Not a fan of that at all. I think it's just too overwhelming. I guess they were trying to go for that luxury type feel about their product. And whenever I smell anything like that, where I have sensitive skin, I'm always automatically leery of putting it on my skin. I've used it several times so far, knock on wood. I've been fine with it. And it looks nice. It looks nice on my skin. It's not like a super pow in your face purple blush though. It is a little more subdued. So there is that. But I do like it, and it is staying. Okay, so let's move on to the actual blush I'm using today, and this is from Tarte Cosmetics, and this was one of their holiday collections. I think it was last year, and this is the shade Polish. This is their Amazonian Clay 12-Hour Blush, and this is what it looks like. Just a nice everyday blush. It's a little more. My lights are toning it down. It looks more like corally peach in person than it does on camera, so I will tell you that. I'm just gonna go in with this brush from Slim Miss Glam. This is their round blusher P12 brush. I got this brush in Ipsy, and I bought the Tarte blush myself. So it's pretty pigmented on here, so I'm going to kind of dust that off a little bit. And actually, I'm going to pull, because I have not pulled the little cover off on it. That was a little lackluster. And I'm just going to go right in on the cheek. And this pairs very, very nice with that She's Cute liquid blush. I think they make a very nice, like, sun, like fake sunburn kind of look on myself. Without it looking too red. And I'm just going to put a little bit on the chin and the forehead, just to kind of tie everything together. Alright. Nice. I like the Tarte blushes. These are definitely more pigmented than their past blushes that I've used. So yeah, I'll say that about this set. They're still not like NYX or L'Oreal pigmented, but they're pigmented enough that they're not like subtle or subdued, unlike their past blushes that I've used. But it blends nicely, don't have any issue with it. Definitely keeping. And I like the fact that it's small and I can travel with it. Okay, so next up we have powder highlighter. And this was chosen by the spin wheel. This is the Essence Baked Highlighter. This came in their advent calendar, I think last year. It may have been the year before. So a baked highlighter is like this, you know, this domed shape. I'm not a huge fan of this highlighter. I feel like it's coming off kind of powdery. And even on, like, I'm scraping my brush in, and there's really not much showing up on the brush. I don't know if it's maybe too packed. Like, I see it once I get it on the face, but I feel like it's just okay. On its own, it doesn't show up as much. I've noticed that it does better if I put a liquid or a cream highlighter on first, but by itself it's just very, very lackluster. And it almost has like that gray tone to it on me, which I don't feel like is that flattering. So yeah, I don't think this, even though it's like, you know, technically kind of a limited edition since it only came in their advent calendar, I feel like I'm gonna end up passing this on in my next declutter because it's just, I'm not wowed by it whatsoever. So yeah, there's my opinion on that. I can kind of show you a little bit here because I didn't have a liquid highlighter under the lip. I mean, you can see it. It kind of shows up a little bit. It's just got like that very grayish, cool pink shade, which is, I just don't like on myself. I kind of prefer more of like a light white to a champagne-y color. I think that's where I lean more on the light, medium, warmer skin tone. I think that's probably why. It might be a lot better on someone with a fairer skin tone than me. Okay, moving on though. So the last powder is the setting powder, and this is an illuminating setting powder from Cover Effects. I did have the matte version as well, which I did end up passing along because I felt like it didn't do a good job of really mattifying my skin or lasting throughout the day. This one, so I do have to tap it into the cap because otherwise I cannot get it to come out. Like, it doesn't want to sit in its little like tub here on the top like my Lunar Beauties and my Glam Lite does. I'm not a huge fan of having to put it in a cap because it makes a mess. I do not like to use it under my eyes because it is a glowy setting powder. So I am not going to use it under my eyes today. I'm going to use another powder for that. Let me grab that actually. I grabbed the Catrice Under Eye Setting Powder in Light Rose. I really like this one for under the eyes. I'm just going to tap out in case there's any creasing. I do wish they made a bigger version of it though. I do think this like small version is nice for travel, but I do feel like I would prefer like at home a bigger version because I'm definitely going to go through this relatively quickly because I've already used quite a lot. But it is a good product. And I just go in under the eyes, set that area. and brighten. I also like the Glam Lite Strawberry Shortcake for that. I also like the Lunar Beauty in the pink setting powder for that. I have the L'Oreal Infallible I have not used yet to try out as well. And then I'm just going to kind of set where I put that concealer too, because I like to look brighter there. Okay, so let's get back to the actual powder that the spin wheel picked. So that one, I believe the shade, yeah, the shade is Light, and you can look at it and you can see like the glitter particles in it that are to make it illuminating. So then I just kind of tap on my hand to spread it throughout. And you guys can, I don't know if it's gonna focus enough. Yeah. You can see right away in person, like the sparkly glitter that's in it. Not a huge fan of that. I have discovered about myself that I actually prefer my illuminating primers, my illuminating powders to be in a pressed version. And I prefer a more glowy versus a sparkly finish. This kind of is in between, depending on how much you put on. Now, if you put on way too much, you're definitely going to look like the Tin Man because of the glitter particles throughout. So, yeah, I'm definitely passing this along, just because it's not the type of formula I prefer for a illuminating setting powder. And I already made a huge mess on my desk from it. Let me grab a makeup sponge or a makeup wipe. I will say, however, that even though it does have some glitter particles in it to make it illuminating, I do not end up, like when I'm taking my makeup off at the end of the day, I don't have like glitter particles all over my face. So it's not so bad that, like, you know, oh God, I wish I never used that. It's just not my favorite type of illuminating powder. Like I said, I like something that has more of a glow to it and less sparkle to it. And I prefer a more pressed version. Like I love my NYX High Glass, and I've actually really been enjoying the e.l.f. Halo Glow in the pressed version. The powder version's not bad either, but I prefer the pressed version over the powder or the loose powder version. So there's that. Okay, so moving on, we are going to get into eyes now. So the eye primers that were chosen was the Makeup Revolution or Revolution Beauty, just eye primer. It doesn't really have a name other than that. I got this in their advent calendar last year, I believe. And then it also chose the Gourmand Girls Glitter Glue. So let's talk about this first. This is not bad. I didn't think I was going to love it, and I felt like it was going to be like a very slippy eye primer. And don't get me wrong, it is a little bit like that, but I like the fact that it actually has some coverage and can cancel out, you know, any type of like veins or discoloration and stuff on your eyelids. So I do feel like for that reason I will be keeping it. I didn't think I was going to be saying that though, because I thought for sure that it was going to go in my next declutter, because I thought it was going to be more of like an Urban Decay type primer. It's not. It's more of like in between that and like your ABH primers. So it's kind of like the happy medium. I do not know if you can buy this like on its own. I don't think so, because I don't think I've ever seen it. If I happen to find it, I will put it in the description box and links and stuff. Alright, so now that we've got that laid down, you guys can see it canceled out. You know, anything that was on my eyes, I have a nice bright base for my eyes now. So we're going to go in to the eyeshadow palette and the eyeshadow stick that was chosen. So I do have a look using the eyeshadow sticks from ColourPop, their New Moon collection. I used all three in a look together. I'll try to link all these videos either up in the cards or down below, and I'll try maybe to kind of pop up some pictures if I have any from Instagram throughout this video, so you can kind of see the different looks I've done, you know, using some of these products. This is nice. I'm not a huge liquid eyeshadow person or shadow stick person, I've noticed. I prefer powder eyeshadows, preferably pigmented, sparkly, metallic eyeshadows. These are nice though, I will say. These are Mulitchromes. These are nice on like, I want to be one and done type days, where you just want to put a little something on your lid and you blend it with a little bit of bronzer and go out the door. These are nice for that. Other than that, I don't really find myself reaching for them. The palette. This palette was chosen. This is the Just Ximenia, I think is how you pronounce it, or Ximenia. I believe this is a actual Florida-based brand. This is their You, Me, and Miami palette. I got this in Ipsy. So this palette is just not really for me, because I like my mattes to be very pigmented and I like my shimmers to be very impactful. The mattes in this are a lot more of a subdued, buildable matte. The shimmers in this are decent. They're not up to how I like my shimmers. I can get them that way by building them up. So if you're someone who likes a buildable formula, this would definitely be a palette for you. I'm not that person. I like pigment. I like quite a bit of payoff on all my stuff right away. So for that reason, this is probably not going to end up staying in my collection. This is probably going to go. I'm not saying that means it's bad quality. I used to say that, but I've learned that just because it doesn't fit my preference doesn't mean it's bad quality. It just means that it fits someone else's preference. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I usually go in and I set the primer with this light shade up here in the corner. So let me grab a big fluffy eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to do that. This is the Glam Light Michaela 01 brush. I'm going to take that, and I'm just going to set my lid. Now I have done looks where I did not set my lid first too. So before anyone says, well, that's why, you know, it's not performing, you're setting your lid. I've tried it without and with setting my lid. Alright, so there's that. I mean, that is a nice, like, set your lid down shade. So if you wanted just something like that to keep the palette for, you know, knock your socks off. So I've done a look using this green matte, this green shimmer and this like gold shimmer. That one is probably my favorite that I've done from the whole palette, but it's still not the best eyeshadow look I've ever done. Just simply because I had a bit of trouble with this green. It was a little patchy. I've also done kind of like a pastel purple look using, I believe it was this shade, the purple shimmer, and the light purple here. And I did a neutral look. I did two neutral-esque looks actually. I used, I believe it was this shade to kind of do a halo eye, and I put this gold shimmer in the middle. That one was kind of pretty too. That was probably my second favorite of the looks. And then I also did one as well that was a halo eye, kind of using those same mattes, but I used a ColourPop, their most recent Super Shock that they did for their birthday, in the middle. That was a nice one. That was a nice easy look. So today I think I'm going to go in with the dark brown, and I'm going to try something. I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to play around with kind of eye shape today. Let's see if I can find a angled brush. Alright, I'm going to go in with the Michaela Glam Light 03. It's just an angled kind of liner brush. And I'm going to go into that dark brown matte and kind of grab a lot. And I want to kind of place it across here and kind of pull a winged out shape with it. I don't do this shape very often on myself, just because it's a little difficult with my hooded eyes to achieve, because I don't have much lid space, or like space between my brow and my hooded lid. But you guys can see, like, I'm really like digging in, and it's still kind of light. And this is the darkest brown in this palette. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab kind of a small blender. This is the Singe Beauty EO2. I'm gonna go into that lighter brown, and I just want to kind of blend a little bit, just to soften the edge. Alright, so then I'm going to go back and forth between the two until I get it to what I like, and then I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back, and I did, kind of build up the shape a little bit as best I can across here, and then I kind of did like a tiny little winged out shape here, and then I went back in with base and kind of filled in with the eye base, kind of filled in between those two areas. So now I'm going to go in with the ColourPop Multichrome stick in between those two areas. I'm playing around with shapes and looks today, so we'll see how this turns out. But I'm just going to put that in between those areas. clean it up a little bit. I'm just taking a Singe Beauty EO9. It's kind of like a rounded flat brush. Just kind of help me shape it a little bit. Okay, yeah, alright. So I'm going to pop off, do my best to repeat this on this eye, and I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back, and I tried to match them as best I could. It's very difficult. I forgot to lay down my glitter glue, unfortunately. I mean, I've used it in other videos. I really like it, and I do think it performs better than my NYX glitter glue, and the packaging is actually stronger. I might just put a little bit like under the eye. Yeah, let's do that so we can say that we used it. So let's just take a little bit. I'm gonna take it on this little angled brush from Wicked Widow Beauty and the Crow. So this comes out clear, unlike the NYX that comes out like more like a white kind of gluey paste. This one is clear. So I'm just gonna put it kind of right here for the shimmer I'm gonna put there. Here in a few minutes. Okay, I'm sorry if the view is a little different. I had to change out my battery. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with the dark green matte on this Wicked Widow angled brush. Yeah, I'm gonna put that under my lower lash line. Going from the edge to the middle of my eye. Now, I'm going to clean that off, and I'm going to go into the green shimmer. And I'm going to put that where we put that glitter glue, right here. Now I'm just going to take that blender brush with no extra product on it. I'm just going to blend underneath. Okay. Now I am done with the palette for now. Alright, so now we're going to go in with mascara, or no, I'm sorry, I forgot. And you go in with the pencil for the waterline. This is from ColourPop. It's a Mulitchrome pencil in the shade Acting Up. It's just like a green to purple. Alright, so now we're going to go into mascara. I'm going to curl my lashes. While I'm curling my lashes, I'm going to talk to you about the eye products. So the eye base I really like. I think it does a good job of canceling out, you know, anything on the eyelid and giving nice like bright base for the eyeshadow, the Makeup Revolution base. The glitter glue that I used underneath the eye, and I've used on the lid multiple times too, I prefer it over my NYX glitter glues simply because I feel like it does a better job and it has better packaging than NYX glitter glue. Another favorite of mine is the Bella Beauté bar. That one is my #1 favorite because it has a doe foot, and I found that that's my favorite way to apply. The eyeliner from ColourPop, I think it's nice. I don't know what it is about these Mulitchrome ones in the waterline. They tend to make me tear up more. I think it may be because they have a little bit more glitter specks in them than their normal ones. So I think that may be irritating my eyes a little bit, but I'm not exactly sure. But it is pretty. It has a nice like purple. I see mostly purple, but then I can kind of see like a dark green gold shift to it as well. So let's go into the mascara. This is the the eyeshadow palette. I talked about it a little bit before. I'm not a huge fan of this eye look. That's my thing, is like all the eye looks I've done with them are just meh to me. I either hate them or I just think they're okay. And I don't really want to feel that way about my eyeshadow palettes. Like I said, it's more of like a light, subtle, blendable coverage. I mean, I think if I'd have to pick a favorite shade out of it, would probably be the green shimmer. I feel like that's the only one that is the most impactful, and maybe the yellow, like gold shimmer, but I mean, I have better gold shimmers in my collection than this. So yeah, I don't think this is going to be staying in my collection, sadly. Yeah, so yeah, the eye look is not my favorite. So there's that. But let's get into the mascara. So the spin wheel picked the One Size FANTASIZE mascara. So it has a nice kind of like silicone wand on it. So this mascara is okay. It does lengthen. I do have to build it a bit in order for it to lengthen more, but I definitely have mascaras that are better at lengthening than this one. And I don't feel like it gives like any volume or anything. It just lengthens. But yeah, it's definitely, it's not horrible, but it's also not the greatest mascara I've ever used either. And I do feel like when I build it, I do feel it getting heavy on my eyes. And it starts to clump a little bit. So yeah, not a huge fan of this mascara. I mean, you can see it's nice and black. It does lengthen. It's just, it feels very, very heavy on my eyes right now because I had to layer it in order to get it like this. So I will have to go through with like a mascara comb or something. Okay, so let's move on. So we had the eyeliner. Unfortunately, I tried to use the eyeliner, so I'm gonna have to stop buying liquid liners, unfortunately, because I don't use them that much because I'm not that great at it, and I've been trying to practice because unfortunately this is the second one that Spin Wheel has chose, and you'll see in one of my videos that I couldn't get it to work because it was so clumpy and just dry and disgusting, and that's my fault for letting them sit in my drawer and not using them. So this is gonna have to go in the garbage. This is the Glam Lite Bat Eyes eyeliner, and I think I maybe tried to use it once or twice before this video, or before, you know, the spin wheel picked it for the month. So yeah, sadly. And this is why these videos are important to me, because I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person that is having to throw things away because they went bad and I wasted them because they were just sitting in my drawer not getting used, you know? Okay, so let's move on. So we have the L'Oreal Infallible 3-second setting mist. I love this setting mist. This is honestly what keeps my makeup on where it's all like illuminating right now for the summer. Because I was out and about in the mall the other day, and unfortunately that mall's air conditioning is broken because unfortunately the mall is just deteriorating, and before we know it's going to be closed. A lot of stores are leaving it, unfortunately. Like one whole half of the mall is pretty much only has like 2 stores left in it, I think, now. So that's not a good sign. But I was in there and I was sweating like crazy, and I actually went to the bathroom and like tapped my head, you know, with some toilet paper to kind of get the sweat and stuff off. But my makeup was not coming off onto the toilet paper whatsoever, and I credit that to this, because once I put this on, my makeup is not budging. Now, I will say you do have to hold your breath when you spray it, because it smells like hairspray, and when it's drying down on your face, it feels like hairspray because it's stiff. But this is supposed to be a dupe for the One Size setting spray. I don't think I have that setting spray. I may have bought it in a mini. Yeah, I think I have a mini, but I haven't tried it yet. So if you guys want me to kind of do a side-by-side maybe one day or something of them, then I can do that for you as long as I have it. But if you want something like that, let me know in the comments down below. And again, I live in Florida, and it is peak, well, not peak summertime yet, but it's pretty much summertime now, and this holds up nicely. Okay, so I gotta let my mascara dry before I spray this. Normally I do it before I do my mascara, but I forgot. I do not like the FANTASIZE mascara for my bottom lashes because it makes them look very spidery. So I am going to go on in with the Bobbi Brown mascara because I've been enjoying it for my lower lashes on there. And then I will come back, spray the setting spray, and then we'll do the lip products together that were picked, some of them, and talk about it. Alright, I'm back, and I did, you know, put on my accessories for the day and finish the lower lash line with the Bobbi Brown mascara. So let's go in with the setting spray, and then we'll do some of the lip products. It's strong, and you can feel it when it hits your face, because it does feel kind of like tacky and stiff when it first hits your face, but then it, you know, it dissipates, that goes away. So let's talk about a couple of the lip products that were picked. So first of all, the lip liners that were picked was the e.l.f. Love Triangle Lip Filler Liner in the shade Plum Prime. It's very, very little lettering. It's just basically like a plummy burgundy shade. I did pair this in my full face of e.l.f. video with a kind of like berry toned lip in that video, and then I also recently paired it with another red lip. I can't remember what it was now. Oh, I think it was Cosmic Brushes lipstick, I believe. It was either that or the Milani lipstick. It'll be in the description of the short that I did with that video. It's an okay lip liner. It is very pigmented, I'll give it that. It has a unique shape. It has that like triangular shape. I have found that this travels though into the lines of my mouth, especially my upper lip. I'm not a fan of when lip liners do that, so what I usually have to do is I'll do the lip liner, then the lipstick, and with things that do stuff like that, I end up having to go back in and line again. And I have to be careful because sometimes where it travels like that, I end up making myself look like I've had lip filler because I've had to overdraw so much with that. So not one of my favorite lip liners there is, and I have this burgundy shade and other formulas that I prefer more. So yeah, this is most likely not going to be staying in my collection either. So the other lip liner that was picked is the ColourPop Lippy Pencil from their Bratz collection in Angel. And these actually are some of my favorite ColourPop lip pencils. I do feel like when I use these that I do get like that Bratz doll look to my lips. I mean, not quite that much, but you know, a decent amount for me. And I like this. I like this formula. I do feel like this is better than ColourPop's previous lip pencils because one of the problems I have, let me grab one. So one of the problems I have with ColourPop's old lip pencils is when you sharpen them, this little tip, see how it travels out? I hate that. That drives me crazy. I think they may have fixed that because I had to sharpen this, the Bratz one, the other day, and it's not doing it. So I'm hoping that they did fix that problem. If they did, then I would most definitely end up probably decluttering a lot of these, their older style, and getting the newer versions. Just simply because this drives me crazy. Alright. But I really like this shade. I really like this formula. And like I said, I do feel like ColourPop improved the sharpenability of the pencil. So the lipsticks that were chosen. So we did a lip duo this time where you get the lipstick and the gloss together. So most of those of mine are the NYX Shine Loud. And this is the shade Magic Maker. I like this formula. I know that this has a lot of like hit or miss. You either love it or you hate it. Now this is a lighter shade. I don't think I've used any of the darker shades yet. So I may end up hating the darker shades, but I really like this lighter shade. I think it pairs really well with a dark lip liner. It also has a matching lip liner as well from NYX in Magic Maker. Most of the ones that I have are duos. I think all of them I have the matching lip liners too as well, in case you want like a uniformed look. Not all of these Shine Louds do have a matching lip liner though, I noticed, but a lot of them do. But yeah, I like this formula. I think the gloss is nice. Now the way this works is that the you put the liquid lip down, you let it dry, then you go over with the gloss, and then the gloss wears off throughout the day, but then you're still left with the liquid lipstick. And I do feel like it wears well. I mean, obviously if I eat anything, like I ate pizza, that's gonna like immediately, the oils and stuff remove it. So it doesn't really last too much. At least this one didn't last too much for something like that. But just like drinking a normal drink throughout the day, anything like that, it worked really well for that part. And then the other lipstick that was chosen is from ColourPop. It's their Glowing Lip from their Muppets collection, and this shade Picture of Joy. Now I paired this lip liner with this. I'll say once I blended the lip liner in, it looked a little better, but at first they really didn't go together because they were a little bit too much of a contrast in color. So there is that. But today I am going to go in with this lip liner from ColourPop and the NYX lipstick duo. Alright, so let's go in with the lip liner first. I really like the applicator in this too, because you can kind of turn and use the point to get a little bit more precise with the lipstick. Alright, and while we're letting that dry down, I'll do a little swatch on my hand of the ColourPop, so you can kind of see it. I mean, if you want to see it, there'll be a video of me using it on my lips too. So that's what it looks like. It's like this kind of like peachy orange shade, and it's very glowy because it is a glowing lip. And I can start to feel this dry down. It does want to like stick a little bit. That's my only critique of these. Alright, so I'm going to go in with the gloss now. And this is what the lip combo looks like. I think they pair nicely together. I like it. But remember, I'm a 90s teen, so I like, you know, stuff like this. May not be for everybody. Alright, so this is the finished makeup look using nothing but the products from the Spinwheel Picks My Makeup monthly makeup series that I've been doing. You know, like I said, you know, there's some fails in this for me. There are some okay products, and there are some I really, really like products. So if I have to pick my top 3, I would probably say, alright, so my top 3, I would say would definitely be this L'Oreal setting spray. Like I said, the only thing about it is the smell and how it feels. Like, that's already went away. I don't feel it like that on my face anymore now, so it's just an initial stiff uncomfortableness at the beginning, but it locks in my makeup throughout the day. The second thing is the Revlon Illuminance foundation. I love a good glowy base, and this definitely gives that to me. If you don't like glowy bases though, I wouldn't recommend this. I do like their Revlon Color Stay as well though, and that one is not luminous like this, so that is an option. And they have like availability for different skin concerns for that one. Like there's a oily combo, and then I think a normal dry, and I'm not sure what else, but it's a nice foundation as well. The third thing I'm kind of a bit tied on, because I'm kind of tied between the e.l.f. color corrector and the ZC color correcting primer. I'm going to go with the e.l.f. color correcting as one of the top 3s, just simply because on days where I don't want to wear very much makeup, I want to pop something on to where I don't look tired, I would definitely be reaching for this a lot. So yeah, I'm gonna pick this one in the top 3. Bottom 3, I would say, would be the powder, just simply because I don't like the glitter particles in it, and I also feel like it doesn't do that great of a job of like setting down my face throughout the day. I feel like this definitely would not hold up without me having to use the L'Oreal setting spray. That honestly is what saved my face from melting off during the summer month this month. So yeah, this one not for me. The baked highlighter from Essence that I got in an advent calendar, I think this is just not for me because it gives off like that light cool pink grayish cast on me that I'm not a big fan of. Like I said, I think it might be better for someone who maybe is a little more fair skinned than me, but yeah, just not for me. And then of course the eyeshadow palette. I just have not liked any of the eye looks I've done with it. This honestly is my least favorite of the eye looks I've done with it. I was trying to use as much as I possibly can to kind of showcase it, as well as use the, you know, ColourPop eyeshadow stick and tie in the green and the gold and the purple with it, but I mean, I like the eyeshadow stick. Like I said, I'm not a big eyeshadow stick person, but whenever I want it to be, you know, quick and easy, I reach for stuff like that. But this palette is just not for me. It's definitely going to end up getting decluttered. Like I said, you know, I like the green shimmer in it, but I'm not going to keep a 9pan just for a green shimmer, especially when I have better green shimmers in my collection. I have a lot better palettes in my whole collection. I don't need to keep something that is just subpar quality, in my opinion. Like I said, though, you know, it's just not for me, because I like super pigmented, super impactful shimmers, and this is more of like, if you like subtle, buildable, easy type looks, a little more natural type looks, then I think you might like this, because it's not like dusty or crusty or anything like that. I've definitely used palettes that were like that. It's not that bad quality. It's just not up to my standard of quality that I am spoiled with like indie brands and stuff. So yeah, unfortunately this is a no for me. Okay, so before we go, let's talk about the last thing, which is the fragrance that was chosen for the month. And this was a gift from my mother-in-law and her boyfriend for Christmas or my birthday. I think it was Christmas though. This is the Beverly Hills Polo Club Sexy for Her. It's a nice scent. It is not the typical scent I go for though. This one, let me look up the notes for you, because I'm gonna mess it up, because I'm not a fragrance channel. You know, I'm not a fragrance channel, so I'm gonna mess it up. So let me look up the notes. Alright, so the top notes of this is a citrus blend. The heart notes are jasmine, rose lilies, and the base notes are peony. So I was going to say flowery. I'm not a big flowery scent person. I'll wear it, but I'm more of like a sweet gourmand scent person. Don't get me wrong, this is nice. It has to have a nice fragrance. It's just not typically what I lean towards. And I will say this lasts, because I can spray it before I leave the house and it lasts pretty much all day. And this is just a body mist. I got the mini fragrance, a mini body mist, and this size body mist. I think there was one more in there maybe, because I feel like there was 4 in there instead of 3. But yeah, it's nice. It does last. It's just not my typical scent. Okay, so there is that. So stay tuned. We are going to film the video picking the makeup for July, so I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. I know I am. I know they're not getting that many views, especially right now. People are watching shorts, and I mean, I'm sorry to those of you who watch me and you don't like shorts, and you know I've been posting more. It's just that's been getting me more views and getting me more followers, because anytime I post these longer form videos, I am not getting that many views. And I mean, I'm sitting here for hours filming these long form videos just to get a couple views. It's a bit frustrating to sit down and do a short video that only takes me like 5, 10, 15 minutes and goes up and is only for a minute and gets me like thousands of views. So, you know, I'm trying to do both, so that I'm kind of appeasing both parts of my audience. So that's why you're seeing some more shorts, because they're pushing me into the algorithm and they're getting me more views. But I'm still doing long form content too. It just may not be as many. But yeah, I'm hoping that, you know, the more you guys see, the more you guys want to view these a little more. And you know, it's allowing me to use products that I already have, and hopefully you guys have some of this stuff too, or you know, you can kind of see how some of this stuff works and be like, okay, well maybe I won't get that, you know, or maybe you'll see and you're like, oh, okay, I want that now. I know right now everybody doesn't have the extra money to be spending on a lot of stuff, myself included. I've really had to like dial back my spending. That's another reason I'm doing videos like this, is using things that are already in my collection. Unfortunately, these videos don't do as well because everybody kind of wants to see the new, or that's what gets pushed into the algorithm anyways. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping you're enjoying these. I'm enjoying using products that I already have, seeing how I feel about them, using them a little more, things like that, and, you know, passing on things that's like, I don't really care for, or I know someone else would get, you know, better use out of it. Alright, if you guys would take a moment, like and subscribe down below, it really helps me out. I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers by the end of the year. I think I'm at 321 today. It's been a little frustrating because I keep jumping from like 325 to 320 to 325 to 320, back and forth, back and forth. That happens sometimes with the YouTube algorithm, but I'm really hoping to hit 500 by the end of the year. So, you know, if you take a moment, it's free. You just have to have an email and, you know, like, subscribe, and, you know, stick around. Join us here on this channel. Alright guys, until next time, bye.